Good evening and welcome to the Orville Union High School District Board of Trustees meeting scheduled for Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022 at 5:30 here at the Transportation Conference Room located at 2139 Washington Avenue in Orville, California. Call to order. Scott Damon here. Amber England, not here at this time. Bonnie King.
Here.
Ray Seahorn. And Annette Walker. We're going to close session to discuss Personnel Government Code 54957, conference with legal counsel, anticipated or existing litigation, Government Code Sections 54956.9, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code Sections 54947.6, graduation requirement waiver, California Education Code Section 51225.3, and pupil discipline, California Education Code Sections 48918/35146. Off to close, we will go at this time. approval of the agenda variance. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Public hearings and new business. Item 1, 2124 Local Control Accountability Plan, the LCAP. Is that now open to the public?
So we brought the updated LCAP to you for public hearing. We will present it in this meeting in the public hearing with the budget. And then we'll also, next week, we'll meet to approve the budget and the LCAP. And so.
So is it open for discussion now?
Yes.
It's now open to the public for discussion. Is there anyone on your side?
That movie, I can't.
It is now closed for public discussion. Now the board comments are. Now it's closed for that. Is that it?
Yeah, unless you have any questions on the development of it or. Okay.
Item 2, 2022-23 original budget. Dr. Watts, please.
You're not
make a
going to get off
presentation?
as easy with mine. So 22-23 budget. I'm just going to go through each fund individually just quickly and tell you what the highlights are. And we have this for public input too, along with the LCAP, and then it'll be on for approval for next meeting.
What page?
The general fund tab. So enrollment projection is 2,279, which is down 149. It's actually probably a conservative estimate. The count of students right now that have schedules are higher than that, but they don't always show up. So this is my estimate at CBEDS. Hopefully, we do have more students. ADA, I'm estimating at 2,053, which is up 31 from what we're estimating or what we actually had this year. Last year, even though we had an increase in enrollment, our ADA went down because students weren't attending school. So we were getting about an 83% attendance rate this year. We normally have about a 91%. So I estimated at 90. So even though I think our enrollment could be down at CBEDS, I'm hoping that our ADA is up. We're budgeting $43 million to be spent over all of our funds. 38 of that's in the general fund. 38 million of that's in the general fund. 80% of our expenditures are salary and benefits. The estimate for revenue includes a 6.56% COLA. There's a potential of more. So we're waiting until we have a final state budget, and the governor actually had a 10% in the May revise, and we're hearing, legislature on the other end had somewhere in the 16% range. So, they're working on that at the state level to come up with some kind of an agreement. So once we know, then we can adjust our revenue.
So one said
estimate.
16 and one said 10, so they agreed on 6.
6.56 is what is the mandatory. That we would not get any less than 6.56. The thinking is that since the governor's at 10 and the legislature's more, that we won't get anything less than 10 now. But we'll make those revisions once we know for sure. In the general fund, we have 141 FTE certificated employees and 129 FTE classified employees. The STRS rate went down 2%. The PERS rate went up 2%. The CVT for active employees went up 4.6%. So that's in the budget. Our property and liability went up 15%, or about $108,000 because of the fires and the COVID claims. Yes.
I just have a question. When you throw out percents, we talked about this before, 2%, 4%.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know it's.
I've said enough.
I know. But when you start talking about dollars, it gets down. There's a lot of I think we get too much in the weeds at this point. We're just going
Right,
over, yeah.
but it is gonna be, it will be in
It's big
dollars.
numbers,
It's
yes.
numbers when you do it.
Yes,
You're
it
just
is,
doing-
right. They are big
I mean, I already
numbers
knew that
because of
because
our,
these letters I get from,
salaries.
Butte County Office of Ed, how wonderful you are. I shouldn't even ask that question. It's kind of embarrassing that I even said it. No. Okay, I'm sorry.
that's okay. So so our property and liability went up 108. We also have the potential out there, and it's not in the budget because we just were finding out about it, is one of our layers of insurance is sending out assessments to all the districts because of these the sexual harassment claims that go back so far. They felt like the reserves were not high enough in our self level that so we're going to have to probably pay another $60,000 for this
Is that how
one-time
that would be
assessment.
paid? If there is a settlement,
Not for us, probably.
insurance?
No, it could be district paid. I mean,
Insurance will
depending on-
pay the legal fees
up to a certain
amount, and then any award comes out of district paid funds in any settlement like that.
The budget includes 3% of the entire budget that goes to, it's called routine repair and maintenance. It's our maintenance budget because that's required. And so 3% of our budget goes to that. It includes all the LCAP. So the LCAP that we looked at tonight, all of those actions are also included in our regular budget. The fund balance, we're projecting we're going to end the year with about 14.9 million. Part of that's restricted. The restricted portion, 2 million of that, most of that are the scholarship funds that we have now are accounted for in the general fund, but we keep track of those as like a restricted program so that we don't draw off of those funds for general expenditures. We've assigned $100,000 for Harrison Stadium, $23,000 for vehicle replacement, and $46,000 for baseball, softball field lighting, which were contributions. We've set aside the 3% required reserve of 1.1 million. The board policy has another 14%, which puts in another 5 million, and then unassigned is 6.6 million. So that's 6.6 million will be what we'll be using when we're negotiating. It'll be what we're using when we do the one-time projects that the board approved the priority list for. So that's what those funds are. So in actuality, as those things start occurring and we know what they are, that will go down. We do need to discuss, it's required that we discuss in open session, the excess reserves and why we have more than 3%. And so there's many reasons, and it's documented in the narrative for the budget. But like I said, we know we're going to have settlements with our employee bargaining units. We know we have one-time projects we want to do. We also set aside money excess money because there's ADA fluctuations, just like this year. We would have never predicted based on past history that we'd have an 83% attendance rate. Repairs and maintenance, we have aging buses, we have aging facilities. We never quite know what's going to happen. And then, in bad years, there's volatility in state funding. This year is not so much of a concern, but you build reserves in good times because they're difficult to build in bad times. So that's to protect us in the bad times. Going on to the other funds, we have the student activity fund, and that's where we record the ASB expenditures and revenues. All of the accounting is done at the school level in their financial system, and then at the end of the year, we put all of it into the state software and report that as we're required to do. The adult ed fund receives is estimated to receive 1.3 million in adult ed block grants. So that's their main source of funding.
Is it grant?
Uh-huh. Which used to, back in the day, Corey's days, it used to be kind of similar to how we get ours based on ADA and things like that. Well, once we went into the LCFF and had to do LCAPs, it became a block grant. And so there's a consortium that's headed up by Butte College, and they allocate out the funds to the partners. There's about 16 FTE regular employees in the adult ed fund, and then they have numerous teachers that teach fee-based that are just time-sheeted employees. And we're looking to have a balanced budget. It does show a 4,902 deficit, but that's basically balanced. But again, there will be things like settlements with employee groups that will affect that bottom line as we go along. A deficit, but they'll end the year with about $685,000. The cafeteria fund, all kids eat for free. The federal program ends this year. The state proposal is to pick up those additional costs with extra funding or additional revenue with extra funding at the state level. So kids will still eat for free, but not on the federal program. It'll be a state program this year.
And is that all kids can eat for free?
Mm-hmm. Right. So we're not collecting any money anymore. And it's helped this year, helped the bottom line of our cafeteria with the funding rates that we're getting.
Does the federal nutritional levels, are they the same as the state nutritional levels?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's whatever one's the most restrictive. And so sometimes the federal regulations are more restrictive and sometimes the state are. So we have to take the most restrictive of both, because I think they do differ a little bit for certain things. The cafeteria employs 12 FTE, and the good news is that we're estimating that we'll have no general fund contribution. So we're expecting the revenues in the cafeteria fund to cover all of the costs this year and maybe add a little bit to their fund balance. The capital facilities fund, this is where we collect developer fees. We collect fees and we get 40%. Our feeder schools get 60%. And we're estimating that we'll get $423,000 in developer fees. And we also receive RDA funds from the city, or from the RDA agency, which is, within the city. And we're estimating we'll get about $221,000 for that, which we've been setting aside for Harrison Stadium. And so if you look, we're looking at, estimating that we end the year with about 1.3 million. So we could be getting close to being able to fund turf and track repair, when we need that to happen.
Is the timing going to be about right on that, Corey?
So I'm having Jim Grown start the process for the track replacement.
Are they doing the same Mondo?
Don't know. We're going to talk to different people and see if Mondo's actually the best product to use.
Is that what they use around here? Like you said,
I
that was
don't know,
track.
he's gonna talk to stuff there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so we'll replace it with as good or better when it was first put in.
Okay, good.
Okay. And so it's going to be a process. And so we're starting it thinking that if we're going to replace it, we'll do it next summer. So,
Okay.
but we're going to have to go out to bid because it's probably going to be $500,000 project.
Yeah.
And that. And
Just a
so,
side note, I know we have keys and stuff, but anybody can nipple through that fence.
Right.
I mean,
That's on our list of priority projects
Huh?
to use one-time funds for. That securing Harrison Stadium so that people can't jump over the
Okay.
fence
Good.
is on our list.
Yeah, because I wonder how much of the damage is done that way. I mean, I've seen bikes and stuff.
Well, the more people that live there, the worse it
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go by on a weekend sometimes. I don't know what's rented out, like to have games and stuff. I'm talking about just kids. And if one kid gets in, you can just leave the door open. I mean,
Well, we've seen on the video, because we've used one-time money to improve the video there, one kid will jump over the fence and then come open the gate for everybody. And there's sometimes adults with them when they do it.
How big is the eagle?
You can turn, it has an
It
ADA
unlocks
lock
on the
inside.
You could actually probably, I don't know if a public building, you could actually have something that locks. Well, they just put a rock there.
Yeah.
Anyways.
The bond interest and redemption fund, that the county assessor's office assesses the taxes to make our bond repayment. So there's not a lot we do with that. We just have to report the revenue and the expenditures. And then the long-term debt summary, I just like you to look at that so that you know what kind of debt we have here at the district. So we still have about 12 years to pay off our bonds. Those first three items are all related to the bond. Accumulated vacation is unused vacation. So that's just an estimate of what we'll have at June 30th. And then we have 5 years left on the solar loan. So we're paying that off at a
How long-
little bit
how long
under
was that
300,000.
contract?
The solar?
Yeah.
8.
Was it 8?
Yeah, I think so.
We're only 3 years into that.
Yeah, I know. It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then
That's going to turn out great.
once we get that paid off. And then the multi-year projection tab, the original budget column is what we just went over. There's projections for the next 2 years. And if you look at the bottom, the fund balance, you can see that we're adding to our fund balance every year. Again, there's a lot of things that will affect that. Salary settlements in the budget year and the out years, whether or not we're going to have more revenue based on the state funding. But what it shows is that it will be able to meet our obligations for this year and the next 2 years, which is what you will have to certify next week. And does anybody have any questions, or did we kind of cover them as we went along?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now that's open to the public. And we're going to close that to the public. They don't seem interested tonight much. And recognitions and presentations, there is none. Recognition of individuals who wish to speak on non-agenda items. Okay. That item is now closed. Recognition of individuals who wish to speak on agenda items. Okay. This non-action and informal items and reports. Board comments. Is there any board comments?
So I went to both the all-school barbecue lunches, and I went to the Oakdale High's senior breakfast. Outstanding. Jack was amazing. Their staff was incredible. Kids were all participating. Staff flipping burgers. The new principal of Oakdale, Kristen, was out there flipping burgers with Tommy and Michael. It was great.
Free meal. Huh?
How did your fundraiser go, Brian? Are we talking about, what you wanted to Orville in? The one I didn't know about? Yeah. It was great. There are lots of people, and everybody was happy, and, lots of different things. Yeah, it was great. And the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, we have a Boys and Girls Club at Orville High School, or just at Orville?
And at LP.
Both.
Well, I knew LP, I just didn't know.
Yep.
Both
Yeah.
schools.
Oh, that's great.
And so they're running our summer program right now. And so the kids will go to summer school from 8 to noon. And then some kids will stay in summer school till 3. And then they'll run a program 12 to 6 at the Orville Clubhouse.
Wow, that's great.
Oh, yeah. They're a great partner.
Is it hard to get kids to go to that?
Not necessarily, because they do trips. They go out to the water or to the forebay and do things like that. They take them on career exploration trips. They do some academic things. They work with them with some mental health services. A lot of our struggling kids excel with the Boys and Girls Club
Yeah,
because they have caring individuals from school to Boys and Girls Club, and they have a place to go after school.
yeah, no, it's wonderful. It's that kind of participation.
And they were doing up until, I think, the last day of school, if you signed up for the summer, they waived $100 fee.
Oh.
I don't know how many they have in all.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how many kids.
You know,
All right.
you know, the advertising.
Oh, that's good.
So we can get a report on how many kids.
Any comments from you, Corey?
I always have comments. So we are having a job fair at Orville High School in the gym on June 30 from 9 to 12. We're really targeting our classified vacancies. We have, don't hold me to this number, about 7 paraeducator positions, 6 bus driver positions, some clerical positions that we're trying to recruit for. We've taken, if you look at the corner of Mitchell and Washington, we're renting a sign right now to see if we can get the word out. And we're really trying to target our classified employees. We've changed the application online because we use EdJoin for teachers. We've had discussions with Susan and Jim and myself and Cello on how do people apply for classified jobs. So Paula converted the application to fillable. So you can apply online through the Orville Union High School District website for positions in our district. And so we're trying to improve that process. Orville City did a job fair last week, and they had 10 to 20 people show up, and they think they were going to hire some of those people.
Good.
So we're thinking out of the box. We still need an English teacher at Las Plumas and a severely handicapped teacher, mod severe credential at Las Plumas. But right now we're focusing on the classified positions.
I say Ray wanted to drive a bus. He can't do it while he's on the board. Is that right?
Correct.
Don't apply.
We've been 2 days, our admin and our teachers on special assignment have been in professional development for 2 days with Chico State and trying to work on how we are going to get our staff prepared for PBIS and culturally responsive teaching and learning next year. We've got a great plan. We're going to start with 2 minimum days. We're having Placer County Office of Ed come in and train our teachers and our administrators. The administrators have already been through the training. We're going to participate as well. We're going to feed the staff welcome back breakfast on August 12th, and we'll do the training in the morning with Placer County. And then they're going to go to their sites. We're going to feed them lunch, and then they're going to go do to their sites and get training by their PBIS teams. And then Monday, they'll have faculty meetings and prepare in the classroom, and then we'll have 2 minimum days, Tuesday and Wednesday, because we want to train the teachers with how to do respect agreements with kids, because that's part of our DOJ settlement. And it's been designed by a lot of stakeholders. So, I mean, I'm really excited about it. Jackie, I said, do you want to do lunch and breakfast? She says, yes. Yes, we do. So we're gonna spend money with her and not go outside with it. And so I'll have more stuff to say as we go down the agenda. So I'll defer to Kevin and Susan.
Okay. You're done.
I have more as we go on. But yes, I'm good. I don't have anything more to report on.
Christina, say.
So I'm going to give Mr. Damon the gift of brevity and thank the board for the support over the past month and also over the past 6 years. And that's my report.
All right, well, bless you. Mr. Seamus is moving on, and we'll miss him. And wish him well, and he's an easy guy to like and love, so we'll miss you. DOJ update.
So DOJ, I meet with them via video next Wednesday. And we're going to do an update on how the district is progressing on our stipulated agreement. We'll be finishing year 2. The monitor is excited about where we're at. We have to continue with training and still implementing PBIS, but we'll work with the data. So we've had Heather McGowan, our public relations person, work with me and do a community newsletter for the data. So once DOJ approves the data next week, then we'll send out a community newsletter that says, this is how Orville Union did this year with GPA, discipline, and all of that. And so, and then we'll get it translated. And that's part of the stipulated agreement. So I think we are good with DOJ right now. We'll have a visit with the monitor probably in September or October. But he'll just come in and walk in the classrooms and maybe do some training if I want him to do that. 3 more years. And then they'll let me know in June if they're going to let me continue to lead it. Because every year in May, we either have to hire an administrator to do it or allow me to do it. And at the time, we couldn't afford to have someone else do it. So I said, I'll do it. But one of the things, and this is not me bragging, it's the 3 districts that were in stipulated agreements on the same day with us. Superintendents in Orville Union is leading the charge. Assistant superintendents are leading the charge in the other 2 districts, and they're not having the success that we're having. So I think that just being able to be top down and me having some oversight with it with everybody else has helped us progress the way that DOJ wants us to progress. So I'm happy with that. So that's all I have with DOJ.
Okay, the 21-22 local performing indicators.
So on tab 7, I'm required with the LCAP to go over the local indicators. So there's 5 local indicators that we have to report on to the state of California that are tied to LCAP. And so appropriately assigned teachers, access to curriculum, aligned instructional materials, and safe, clean, and functional facilities. That's priority 1. That's Williams Act things. Well, we're compliant with that. We had 2 vacancies last year at Las Plumas High School, iTech and English. We had a hard time filling those. So we had people hired and then they left in the middle of the year. And so we have that taken care of. Priority 2 is implementation of state standards. We have done that, and we are sustaining that. We are reviewing materials, and we are updating curriculum as needed. So we've met that standard. Parent and family engagement is one of the measures that we struggle with a little bit. It can always be better, so we're looking for ways to do that. School climate is priority 6, is that we provide a safe environment and a positive environment for kids. And so we use our check survey with that. I've given you the Las Plumas climate report card. And so that was from the check survey. It's the colored one. Yeah, it's that one. It gauges how kids feel about school. Is there adults that are connected in the school that they feel connected to? And we're doing a better job, but we still have some ground to make up, to make sure that schools are safer, facilities are cleaner. And that there's more caring adults on campus. And so we're working on that. And access to a broad course of study, that's priority 7. That's a big one in the LCAP. And basically all of our kids have access to the curriculum. They may not be able to get to it because of scheduling or that, but we've made great strides in band kids or Spanish kids being able to get PE in independent study, and even a geography and independent study, so they can make room in their schedules to access those courses. We also made a change about 3 years ago where kids could take a biological science their first year instead of physical science, biology, then chemistry or whatever. What that has done is that's allowed them to take 3 to 4 years of science. And so I think we're on the right course with all of our local indicators. And so do you have any questions on those?
Not I. Okay, thank you. Old business, there is none. Do I have a recommendation for approval of the consent calendar waiving the second reading? Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 34, new business. We have the 22-23 Education Protection Account Spending Plan. Dr. Watts.
The district is required to approve, it's called the EPA, the Education Protection Account Spending Plan. So this is, it's not new funding, it's part of our LCFF calculation. And then a percentage of our apportionment is paid through the EPA account at the state level. So we get about 4.4 million in EPA funding. And so the requirement is that it's supposed to be spent on instructional salaries and benefit, or instructional purposes. And we just charge our instructional salaries and benefits to the EPA funding. So this plan is submitted to you for approval.
Recommendation is for approval. Do I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 35, approval of the statutory reimbursements to Attorney Schenkman relating to CVRA. Dr. Lomberg.
So Attorney Schenkman sent us a letter and said we were in violation of the California Voters' Rights Act. And as part of that, he's entitled to $30,000 as a settlement because we went through the process. We have trustee areas now, and 30,000 is the low end of the settlement. It could be as high as 143 because we did the process. If we didn't do the process, then it could be 143 plus attorney fees. So we're recommending approval of the reimbursement and payment costs to Schenkman for $30,000 in accordance with the statutory requirements of the CVRA and the attached invoice and backup documentation.
This is one of these ones where you're really not approving it, but you kind of have to. So do I have a recommendation? Second?
Second.
Comments or questions? I got a lot of comments here. Stuff like this that the American taxpayers, the California taxpayers, should be made well aware of. I mean, this guy, I doubt he's pure motive is to get this voting taken care of. He made $30,000 at least. And how many districts did he sue?
It was a few, and cities.
It's
And
unreal.
And
I
what
mean-
did he do for that? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
That's okay. I'm used to it.
But that's why I wanted it on the
Absolutely.
regular agenda item so
I
that
mean,
the
it's
public
just,
can see.
it's so impure to me that it's evil. And the mayor, I guarantee the taxpayers, the majority of them don't know.
So.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, what did he actually, I'm sorry, what did he actually do for the 30,000? Just identifies us?
He sent us a letter and said, we're going to sue you for violating people's rights.
How long has this voter thing been in law?
Yeah.
Really? And just nobody's made a big deal. Everybody cared so much that nobody said a word about it.
The elementary
It's unreal.
But the Congress or whatever must have passed this law.
That's California.
Yeah.
It's California.
I mean, the state, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Enjoy your dirty money, Mr. Scheckman.
It's called
One of
extortion.
us should
Yeah.
have voted no, just to go on record.
I vote no. It's 3-1. Okay. Item 36, cooperation agreement for student transportation services with OUHSD. Dr. Watson.
So along with the transition of the special ed transportation program from Orville City Elementary School to the high school district, we felt like it was a good time to update our agreement with the elementary district. And so we went through a process where we built, kind of took bits and pieces, but built a new agreement that includes our regular ed transportation along with the special ed transportation, and how things like vehicles we're going to transfer over, and the employees, and how the funding calculations would work, and when Orville City would be reimbursing us, a payment schedule. And so all of that's in here. Or we worked with Orville City Elementary, so they have seen this agreement. The superintendent and assistant superintendent agreed with everything in here, and they're putting it on, should be this week too, for approval.
Okay.
So.
Recommendations for approval. Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Comments or questions? I-
Susan, do they have access to our van?
They do not. It's not part of the transportation. Any of the personal vehicles, they do not use. They have some of their own.
What does it say about if we want to decide to pull out of that contract?
We have to give notice. I'd have to look through here, but it's in time that we could do layoffs. So I think by January of
So
any
it's a
year.
yearly contract?
It's not a yearly contract, but we can pull out of it whenever we want. We just have to give the appropriate notice, because we have to, with classified employees now, we have the same or similar layoff regulations that we do with certificated. So we have to give March 15th notices to classified employees. So I think the deadline was January if anybody did not want to continue with the process.
Is this a result of the company we hired to come in and check our?
That was their recommendation.
Yeah.
They felt like there were more efficiencies if we combined.
Okay, I'm fine with that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 38, or 37, awarding of food service bids.
So Super Co-op is no longer going out to bid for all districts within their co-op, and each district must now go out to bid individually. And 4 vendors submitted bids and were scored based on price, service, and delivery, quality and grade, and references. And it's Gold Star Foods for commodities, bread for Gold Star Foods, produce to Pro Pacific Fresh, milk to Northam Distributing, and non-food commodities and non-food items to S&L Food Sales. And we are recommending awarding of bids as presented.
I have a recommendation for approval. Second. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 38, contract with PG&E for electrical infrastructure.
So the district is seeking approval to enter into a contract with PG&E to design and install new services for the electrical vehicle fleet. After completion, the district will install adequate charging stations to support the EV fleet, which will be funded by a bus grant, and we're recommending approval.
Do I have a motion for approval? A second? Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 39, declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Dr. Williams.
So we may be required to partially fill credentialed positions with personnel operating under a long-term emergency permit. The board must annually approve the declaration of need to comply with the Commission on Teacher Credentialing regulations, and we're recommending approval.
I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 40, annual statement of need for 30-day substitute teaching permits. Dr. Lundberg.
On a normal basis, the district substitute teacher pool is partially filled with personnel operating under a 30-day emergency permit. The district can only employ these people if the board approves an annual statement of need, and we're recommending approval.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item 41, facility fee waiver.
So Delta Epsilon sorority, the Orville chapter is putting on their annual breast cancer awareness walk and pink pancake breakfast at Harrison Stadium on October 1st. The total cost of the facility fee is $335, and they will pay for custodial, and they're asking that we waive
The facility fee.
the facility fees, yes.
That's Lori Souza, she does it.
Do I, right. Do I have recommendation for approval?
So moved.
And so, comments or questions, Ray?
I just did. I'm not lying.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now, item 42 has been brought to me that there's a date wrong on here, and I want to point anybody out, but can we get the correct date on that, Corey?
So, on the board calendar that you have in front of you, we have a meeting on July 20th is what it's saying. I'm asking to approve the calendar with the date change to July 27th. It's the next Wednesday. It just gives us a little more time to hire people in that so that we can, don't have to have a special before school starts.
Do I have a recommendation for approval, please?
So moved.
And second, comments or questions? All approved?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 43, the amended personnel assignment order. Do I have a motion for approval? And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 44, expulsion case 11-2122.
I make a motion that expulsion case 11-2122 be expelled for the remainder of the 21-22 and the first semester of the 22 period. Be referred to the community day school to continue their education.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Items for next agenda.
So the next agenda will be at the district office at 5:15 on June 29th for budget and LCAP,
What time?
5:15.
When is that? A week from today?
Yes.
Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Good night.